All right, click the links, join the channel, become a member here over at subscribe. So I got a mailbox, mail me some comics. So the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving controversy, it's not a controversy for us. It might be for you and your little microaggression world, where honestly I look at all these people and go, you guys and us, we would be better far away. De jure as well as de facto. So hopefully that day is coming. So a 50-year-old cartoon is problematic for the absolute dumbest twats on earth, the people at the Marysue. I mean, though there's a lot of digital media where it's a competition or a race to the bottom. Occasionally they'll go out of business, and then they'll go on Twitter and they'll be outraged. They're like, this is quality media, and these people, this company shut down. Like, why did it shut down? Because nobody was reading the quality media about, I don't know, some BuzzFeed article about how pee can color your hair. Just the most disgusting, stupid stuff they can think of. So a 50-year-old cartoon is problematic for them. Is it really? I don't know what they believe. I don't know if they really... I mean, the virtue signaling, the manufactured outrage, they work themselves up into to virtue signal over something, but it's only if they have the audience for it. Are they really outraged? I sincerely doubt it, but I don't know if they know truth from reality anymore. So the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, you've probably seen that. You've probably seen, is the Halloween one a separate? That might be a separate cartoon. And then there's the Christmas one. I don't know, maybe there's more. There's probably an Easter one too. It's got the Snoopy gang doing their thing, but the image of them sitting around the table in the, I think, 1973 cartoon has the idiots at the Marysue get their panties in an uproar. The people, this kind of mentality, they can never create anything of value, and they're the first to destroy. Like Tolkien was right about this, and a lot of this kind of stuff, you look at them and go, gosh, you guys don't like these things, you should just create your own. And when you say that to the right, they come up with comics again, like, here's Jawbreakers and here's Cyberfrog. What a great suggestion. We should create your own. Yeah, these guys did. In fact, there's probably hundreds of Comicsgate comics out there. Yeah. No, not like that. We meant like you should just enjoy the bizarro soy boy propaganda that comes from mainstream comics. And hopefully it'd be great if there's a way to make your own movie, but the budgets on those are a little bit steeper than the comics, unfortunately. But yeah, you look at the movies coming out of Hollywood now, and you think, yeah, I don't need to see any of those things ever again. The next one is going to be Snow White, but that's coming out in a year. Other than that, I was looking at movies the other day and like, oh, there's really nothing out there. Anyway, so the way I heard it with the placement of this, keep in mind, the Schultz didn't draw this. He just penned out the script for it, and some nameless animator 50 years ago did the rest of it. So the way it was framed when people look into this every so often, was the character Franklin was seated at a place of honor, which is how a table like that works when one person's on the side of it, so everyone can focus on him as if he's like the 12 apostles or something. I suppose he was seated at a place of honor because they were welcoming him to the gang, maybe. But whatever, it just shouldn't be a big deal. It was 50 years ago. You should just leave that issue alone. Though I suppose now with digital editing, they could go back and just redraw that scene if they wanted to, which whoever owns the rights probably will. So what the Marxists do is cause as much chaos as possible. They just can't leave things alone. You go, hey, don't you guys just kind of want to live in peace? And they go, wait a minute. We live in peace. The reason they don't do that is the snakes in the tall grass theory, where they want low-level people fighting so the snakes can move through the tall grass without being noticed. So we're too distracted to notice that there's top-level machinations going on. The Sam Bankman-Fried, the Pelosi, the Schumer type level of theft and corruption at the hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. When money goes overseas, it doesn't all go overseas. It goes to their family who've got investments over there, and it just gets funneled back to them. But they don't want you to notice that. So they want you to notice someone was misgendered today. Oh my God, we better make a TikTok video. How can we support, one side of the conflict overseas with a TikTok video? I know which side I'm supporting, and probably 90% of the audience is on board with that. So the character was only created because some lady asked Schultz to create the character Franklin, which was his mistake right at the start. Because once you do that, you leave the organic and you're starting to create propaganda. You're better off just not doing this. Stick to what you know. So the Marysue article is saying how important inclusion and diversity is. Abso-fucking-lutely not. It's just the opposite, actually. Thinking diversity, inclusion, equity, that's globalist propaganda. Alinsky, Frankfurt School, Moses Mordecai Levy, and the Bolsheviks, that is used to weaken and cause division. Unity is strength. Diversity has always been weakness. You can look up the etymology of the word diverse. So Schultz wrote what he knew. That's what you should always stick to. And once you leave that model, you're in trouble. The characters were perfect the way they were. And, Stanley No Prize, if you can name all the characters in that comic without looking them up. I think I probably get most of them. You should not include characters that are not organic to you and your story. That's the definition of propaganda. But let me also say, because this was written 50 years ago, it wouldn't have been organic to him. Probably, if it is organic to you and your story, then by all means, write what you know. If that's what you know, knock yourself out. But when she asked him to write this something, I forget her name, he should have said, you know what, let a black artist do that. Let a black creator create his own comic book or his own comic strip and do a special. Like, let him start something, work it up from the bottom. If it catches on, it'll catch on. But it would be organic for him to tell his story. It's not organic to the creator of this story. Should just leave it alone. Sometimes it's better to not be nice and just acquiesce to things. You're better to put your foot down and go, it's going to come off, I'm just not going to know how to write the character because that wasn't my childhood, that wasn't how he was raised, type of thing. And nobody wants to be mean, but sometimes you just have to put your foot down on a lot of things, so you're sticking with an organic story. Anyway, so now 50 years later, the idiots at the Marysue, and they very much are bitching about something that you should just let the sleeping dogs lie on this. But if you never included the character, you would have been better off, and they would not have had something to bitch about. They would definitely have whined about this comic not having a black character or whatever, but the story would have been authentic and timeless, and it wouldn't have this kind of something a little bit out of tune because it wasn't organic to him. Most people are tribal. These people keep whining about how important diversity and inclusion is to them. It's to most people, all that inclusion means family and tribe, not something alien to you that you were forced to combine in this hellscape known as a commercial zone that used to be the West. More people need to just say that diversity and inclusion are not their values. They haven't seen the positive side to it, and it seems like there's more negatives because that's what human experience tells us. If the Marysue types want to judge people 50 years ago by the current standards, doesn't that logically mean that the same things will happen to them in the future? And it seems like the timeline is getting faster and faster where they're starting to judge people and cancel people from behavior almost from yesterday. So isn't this whole type of cancel culture type of thing totally pointless? If you're a left-winger, you got a purity spiral where every year has to be year zero because yesterday was problematic by today's standards. Like none of it really matters. That's just how Marxism works. We need to dismantle and deconstruct, and it's just a tall grass. They need to cause as much chaos as possible. And you're going to have to, you really have to learn some of the communist dialectic, the tools of the Alinskys and the Bolsheviks, because then you can boilerplate, have a response to it and go, oh, this is just Bolshevik propaganda. This is what you guys do to destroy nations. And that's what it is. And then hopefully you use enough of these hot words, people will kind of look it up. So to the left wing, their hero is Floyd, a violent, junkie, criminal. They remove statues of people from 300 years ago because they're to be judged by today's standards. But a man who did a home invasion to a woman is their hero because he's not responsible for his own behavior. How deep does a country have to go into Weimar to erase history and replace it with a violent criminal as something to look up to? Yeah, it's not a good. That's more than not a good sign. If 40 years ago someone was writing a dystopian future novel about something like that, it would almost be unbelievable. And now enter a current year, and you look around, you're like, oh, this is all actually happening. What does it say about a society that there are statues to a violent criminal who broke into a woman's house and robbed her? It it says you better prepare for the future. So these people don't want the country to work, and at this point, I totally agree. Accelerate it to destruction, and we can just split the country up. The liberals and whoever wants to live according to those values can all go live somewhere in peace. I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it'll. Well, I mean, you know what it'll be like. They can argue with each other about their problematic microaggressions, and the thing is, they wouldn't want to do that because suddenly the Rachel Leichmans would find themselves, all the focus would be on them because suddenly they'd be at the bottom of the oppression hierarchy. And then they're going to be the problematic ones who need to correct their behavior. And for these liberals, they enjoy being allies as long as it doesn't ask too much of them. But if there wasn't someone that they could deflect blame onto, like us, they would not be very comfortable with it for long. And you know that would be the case. It would. I wish it would happen because it would be just the best reality show on earth. It would be like, yeah, there's going to be 50 million people. It's going to, like the Chaz Part 2. They're going to take a part of the country and they're going to try this social experiment. It's like, how's it going to work? I don't know. Not well, obviously not well, but it would be very much entertaining to live stream it. Here's the thing, Marysue. We don't care about racism. It's not an organic term. It's a very old psyop from the Frankfurt School that's used to manipulate people, and it's propagated by the media and universities. If the left thinks it's bad, then it's definitely a good thing. Every day I promise to try to double down on it. The Marysue would not have anything if they couldn't bitch about this kind of nonsense. The trick is we got to let them preach to the choir. We just kind of have to remove ourselves from the equation. The most powerful tool we have now is to not fund Hollywood, that trillion-dollar industry. Just stop paying for movies and streaming. Let Hollywood slowly bleed itself to death. And don't get me wrong, they will. Hollywood's not going to stop. They're not going to turn this around. It's not left-wing Twitter dragging Hollywood to the left. The people at Hollywood and Disney, for example, when they did that Zoom call, they're fully on board with this. Like all these. The thing is, this is something only wealthy left-wingers can get involved with, where they're able to afford to live in an echo chamber or live in a gated community where like they just don't know what they're talking about because all the policies, all the things they believe in, you go like, oh, where do you live? And you look up the demographics of where they live and the housing costs, and you get what I'm saying. It's like, oh, you guys live in La La Land. Like this bears no relation. This is like 0.1% of the country is living in these $4 million homes in gated communities. It's like you just have no idea what most of the country experiences. That's why your movies are not touching base with people. And the thing with Hollywood, and I noticed this with comic book writers also, is they're not reading or watching their own product. Because if they were, they would have noticed how cliche their storylines are, which is a weird thing to say, especially with comic books where they're not. The people who write comics don't read comics. I know that's freaking bizarre. If they did, they're smart enough to go, whoa, this is tired, hackneyed, and overused. These tropes we're using in comics. This is why our comics aren't selling. And then you go like, you look at them and go, well, how do we stop this? Because these aren't comics anymore. These are propaganda. And now comics are obviously orders of magnitude cheaper than movies, but now you're seeing the same stuff in movies where they're making these movies that are not finding an audience. And movies are fantastic because they're spending $200 million on these movies. So when those things lose money, as you're seeing lately, they're losing serious chunks of change. And even Disney eventually is going to run out of other people's money. But Disney's got a lot of money, so it's going to be a long time for them, unfortunately. But, hey, that's what social media is for. Oh, that's the other thing they say is when you get on there and like the Phantom Menace type of channels and you laugh at all these kind of things, the left wing just gets outraged at that because obviously you're laughing at the message. And they go, oh, my God, just let people enjoy things. You don't have to comment on it. And now suddenly these left wing kids, these, fight the power find themselves defending multi-billion-dollar industries, and you look at them like, how, like, do you have any principles whatsoever? But they say, just let people enjoy things. You don't have to comment on it. And you think, why not? If the movies are good and the tropes they're pushing and the narrative they're pushing is good, then a bunch of Phantom Menace Comicsgate channels are not going to have any effect on it whatsoever. But they know it's not good. They don't want you pointing out how stupid these kind of movies are. They don't want a counter narrative whatsoever, which is why it's pretty important to make videos. The Comicsgate, the Phantom Menace type of stuff, to put a counter narrative out there to tell people, yeah, it's okay. You don't have to watch Hollywood anymore. This stuff is so bad it's not even worth sailing the high seas for. Which is everything I looked at that has been playing over the past few months. There's nothing that's worth paying for, and there's nothing that's worth seeing for free. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys all next episode.